The galactic trade station Omega-12 never slept. It floated in the darkness of space like a giant metal city, always busy, always loud. Thousands of aliens walked through its markets every day. They came from hundreds of different worlds. Some had scales, some had fur, some had no faces at all. They all came here to buy, sell, and trade. Security officer walked through the lower market district. Her boots made sharp sounds on the metal floor. She was a human woman, 28 years old, with short black hair and tired eyes. She had worked on this station for 3 years. She had seen many things. Most of them were not good. The lower market was the part of the station. The lights here were dim. The air smelled bad. The stalls sold cheap food and broken machines. The aliens here were not rich traders. They were refugees, workers, and people who had nowhere else to go. Did not like this job. She did not like working for the galactic hegemony. The hegemony controlled most of the galaxy. They cared only about money and power. They called it efficiency, called it cruelty. But she needed the job. Earth was far away and she had bills to pay. She stopped walking. Something had caught her eye. A small figure moved through the crowd. It was a child, or something like a child. The creature was short, maybe 1 meter tall. Its skin was pale lavender, almost purple. It had 4 thin arms and large dark eyes. It wore a torn cloak that was too big for its small body. The child was moving fast, too fast. It kept looking behind itself. It was afraid of something. Then saw what the child was holding. Under its cloak it carried something. The child was trying to hide it but could see the shape. Food packages. The child had stolen food. "Stop!" a voice shouted behind the child. "Thief! Someone stop that!" Knew that word. She had heard about them. They were a peaceful species from a small planet. The hegemony had destroyed their world 2 years ago. They said they were economically non-viable. That meant they did not make enough money. So the hegemony took their planet and sold it to a mining company. They became refugees. Most of them died. The ones who survived had nothing. The child ran toward. It did not see her standing in the way. Its legs were weak and thin. It was not running well. It was stumbling. Stepped forward and blocked the path. The child crashed into her and fell backward. The stolen items fell from its cloak and scattered across the floor. Nutrient packs. That was all, small packages of basic food. They were the cheapest kind, the type that tasted like nothing. They were worth almost no money, but the child had risked everything to steal them. The child scrambled on the floor, trying to pick up the packages with all 4 of its arms. Its hands were shaking. Its eyes were full of tears. "Please," the child whispered. Its voice was soft and broken. "Please, it's not for me." Looked down at the small creature. She saw how thin it was. She could see its bones through its skin. This child was starving, but it said the food was not for itself. Heavy footsteps came from behind. The merchant had arrived. He was a large reptile-like alien with 6 eyes and thick green scales. He was 3 times bigger than. His hands were like claws. He looked very angry. "You caught the thief," they said. His voice was deep and cold. "Good. I will take it from here. The station police will put this creature in the labor camps where it belongs." The child made a small sound. It was crying now. Its 4 arms wrapped around the nutrient packs, holding them close to its chest. "Please," the child said again. My mother is sick. She is dying. She has not eaten in 4 days. Please, I will go to the camps. I will do anything. But please let me give her the food first. Please." Felt something break inside her chest. She had seen many sad things in her life. She had seen poverty and war and death. But something about this child's voice cut through all of her defenses. This was not a thief. This was a daughter trying to save her mother. The laughed. It was an ugly sound. "Your mother, who cares about your mother, are worthless. You are all worthless. You should have died with your planet." His hands became fists. She felt anger rise in her body like fire. She wanted to hit the merchant. She wanted to hurt him, but she controlled herself. Violence would not help the child. "How much?" she asked. The looked at her. "What?" "The nutrient packs, how much do they cost?" The merchant's 6 eyes blinked. "Why do you care? This creature is a thief, the law says." "I asked how much," she said. Her voice was calm but hard. "I will pay for the food, then there is no theft, then you have no complaint." The stared at her for a long moment. Then he laughed again. "Fine, 50 credits, but the normal price is only 10. Consider the extra as payment for my trouble." 50 credits was a lot of money. It was almost half of weekly pay, but she did not hesitate. She pulled out her credit chip and transferred the money to the merchant. The took his payment and walked away. He was still laughing. "Stupid humans," he said, "always wasting money on garbage." Did not respond. She kneeled down on the floor next to the child. The small creature was still crying. It looked up with those large, dark eyes. There was confusion in those eyes and fear, and something else. Hope. "It's okay," said softly. "The food is yours now. No one will take it." The child's 4 arms clutched the nutrient packs. "Why?" it asked. "Why did you help me? You are a security officer. You should have arrested me." Thought about the question. She thought about her job and her uniform and all the rules she was supposed to follow. Then she thought about her grandmother back on Earth. Her grandmother had survived a war when she was young. She always told the same thing. When you see someone suffering, you help them. That is what makes us human. "What is your name?" asked the child. "Lyra," the child said. "My name is Lyra." "Lyra, my name is. I helped you because it was the right thing to do. Now you said your mother is sick. Can you take me to her?" Lyra's eyes went wide. "You want to help her too?" "I want to try." For a moment, Lyra did not move. She had learned not to trust anyone. The galaxy had been cruel to her. Everyone had been cruel to her. But this human woman had just paid 50 credits to save her from prison. Maybe, just maybe, she was different. Lyra stood up slowly. She held the nutrient packs close to her chest. Then she looked at and nodded. "Follow me," Lyra said. "But we must be careful. We live in a place where no one is supposed to go." Stood up and followed the child into the darkness of the station. She did not know what she would find. She did not know if she could help, but she knew she had to try. Behind her, the market continued its noise. Aliens bought and sold and argued. No one noticed the human woman following the alien child. No one cared. But sometimes the biggest changes start with the smallest moments. A child steals food. A stranger shows kindness. And the universe shifts just a little toward something better. Lyra led through parts of the station that most people did not know existed. They walked through narrow hallways filled with pipes and wires. They climbed down ladders into dark spaces below the main floors. They squeezed through gaps in walls that were barely big enough for a human body. The air grew colder as they went deeper. The lights became fewer. Soon was using the small flashlight on her belt to see. The station made strange sounds around them. Metal groaned. Pipes hissed. It felt like being inside the belly of a giant sleeping beast. "How did you find this place?" asked. Lyra did not look back. She kept walking, her 4 small feet moving quickly across the metal floor. When you have nowhere to go, you find places that no one wants. The station is old. There are many forgotten spaces, many broken rooms. We found one that still has air and a little heat. Felt a deep sadness in her heart. This child was only 7 cycles old. That was like being 10 years old for a human, but Lyra talked like someone much older. She had learned things that no child should learn: how to hide, how to survive, how to live in the dark. They walked for almost 20 minutes. Finally, Lyra stopped in front of a large metal door. The door was rusted and old. It had a sign on it that said Cargo Hold 7B Decommissioned. Lyra pressed a button, and the door slowly opened with a loud screaming sound. Inside saw a small room. It was maybe 5 meters wide and 5 meters long. The walls were bare metal. The floor was covered with old blankets and torn pieces of cloth. In one corner, there was a pile of broken machines. In another corner, there was a small heater that glowed with weak orange light. And in the middle of the room, lying on a thin mattress, was a woman. She was like Lyra. Her skin had once been lavender, but now it was gray. Her forearms lay flat at her sides. Her eyes were closed. Her breathing was so shallow that could barely see her chest move. She looked like death itself. "Mother," Lyra said softly. She ran to the woman and kneeled beside her. "Mother, I brought food. Please wake up. Please eat." The woman did not respond. She did not open her eyes. She just kept breathing those tiny, weak breaths. Walked closer and kneeled on the other side of the mattress. She looked at the woman carefully. Her medical training was basic, but she could see the signs. This woman was dying. Her body was shutting down. She needed medicine, not just food. "How long has she been like this?" asked. Lyra's eyes filled with tears. 5 days. She got sick 2 weeks ago. First she just coughed. Then she got hot. Then cold. Then she stopped eating. Then she stopped talking. Now she just sleeps. She barely wakes up anymore. Put 2 fingers on the woman's neck. The pulse was there, but it was very weak, very slow. This woman did not have much time left. Maybe a day, maybe 2. Without proper medicine, she would die. "What is her name?" asked. Lyra said, "Her name is She Is All I Have. My father died on our home planet. My brothers died on the refugee ship. Everyone died. Only Mother and I survived. Please, you have to help her, please." Looked at the child. Lyra's face was wet with tears. Her 4 hands were shaking. She was holding one of the nutrient packs, trying to open it with trembling fingers. Lyra said gently, "The food will help, but your mother needs medicine. Real medicine, do you understand?" Lyra nodded slowly. "I know, but we cannot go to the medical bay. They do not treat, we have no money. We have no identification cards. If we go there, they will arrest us and send us to the camps." Felt anger burn in her chest again. The station had a medical bay with enough supplies to treat thousands of patients. But those supplies were only for people who could pay. Only for people who the hegemony considered valuable. Refugees were not valuable. They were nothing. "That is not right," said. Lyra looked at her with those big dark eyes. "Many things are not right, but that is how the galaxy works. The strong take, the weak die. That is what everyone tells us." Shook her head. "That is not what everyone believes. Humans do not believe that." "Humans?" Lyra said the word like she was tasting something strange. "I have heard of your kind. Other aliens say you are strange. They say you help people for no reason. They say you are foolish." "Maybe we are foolish," said, "but we are also stubborn. When we see something wrong, we try to fix it, even when it is hard, even when it seems impossible." Lyra was quiet for a moment. Then she asked, "Why? Why do humans care about strangers?" Thought about the question. She thought about all the stories she had heard growing up. Stories about humans helping each other through wars and disasters. Stories about strangers saving strangers. Stories about ordinary people doing extraordinary things because they simply could not walk away. "I do not know exactly why," said honestly. "Maybe it is because our planet was very hard to live on. We had to help each other to survive. Or maybe it is just how we are built. When we see someone suffering, something inside us says we must help. We cannot ignore it." Made a small sound. Her eyes opened just a little. They were cloudy and unfocused, but she was awake. She looked at Lyra, then at whose voice was barely a whisper. "Who is this?" "A friend, Mother," Lyra said quickly. "A human friend. She helped me. She saved me from the merchant." His cloudy eyes moved to his face. She studied the human woman for a long moment. Then slowly she smiled. It was a weak smile, full of pain, but it was real. "Thank you," whispered. "Thank you for helping my daughter. She is everything to me. If I die, please, please do not let her be alone." "You are not going to die," said firmly. I am going to get help. I am going to bring medicine. You are going to live. Shook her head slightly. You cannot. The station will not help us. No one helps. We are forgotten people. Then I will make them remember, said. She stood up and looked around the small room. This place was cold and dark and terrible. No one should live like this. No child should watch her mother die in a place like this. It was wrong. Everything about it was wrong. Lyra said, stay with your mother. Give her some of the nutrient paste. Keep her warm. I am going to get my crew. Your crew? Lyra asked. I am not just a security officer. I work with other humans on this station. Good people. People who will want to help. I cannot promise anything, but I will try. I will try everything. Lyra stood up and walked too. The small alien child reached out with all four of her arms and wrapped them around her waist. She hugged the human woman tightly. Thank you, Lyra whispered. No one has ever tried to help us before. Even if you fail, thank you for trying. Put her hand on Lyra's head. The child's hair was soft like silk. I will come back, said. I promise. She pulled away gently and walked to the door. At the entrance, she looked back one more time. She saw Lyra kneeling beside her mother, opening a nutrient pack with careful hands. She saw his gray face and closed eyes. She saw the small heater struggling to keep them warm. Then turned and walked into the darkness. She had a lot of work to do. She had to find her crew. She had to make a plan. She had to find medicine for a dying woman that the galaxy had forgotten. It was impossible. It was dangerous. It would probably cost her everything. But did not care, because she was human, and humans do not walk away. The mess hall was quiet at this hour. Most of the station's workers were asleep or on duty. Only a few humans sat at the metal tables, eating their late meals or drinking their coffee. The room smelled like recycled air and synthetic food. It was not a nice place, but it was where the human crew came to be together. Found her friends at their usual table in the corner. There were 4 of them, all humans, all people she had worked with for years. They looked up when she approached. They saw something in her face, something serious. Lieutenant was the first to speak. He was a tall man with a strong jaw and careful eyes. He was second in command of the station's human security team. He was also his oldest friend on the station. What happened? Asked. You look like you have seen a ghost. Sat down at the table. She took a deep breath. Then she told them everything. She told them about Lyra, about the cargo hold where 2 refugees were slowly dying. She told them about the merchant and the stolen food and the child's desperate whisper. When she finished, the table was silent. Her 4 friends looked at her with different expressions. Looked worried. Chief engineer looked thoughtful. Medic looked sad. Communications officer looked angry. Spoke first. I understand how you feel. I really do. But what exactly do you want us to do? I want us to help them, said simply. Help them how? The medical bay will not treat. You know the rules. No identification, no credits, no treatment. Those are hegemony regulations. Then we do not use the medical bay, said. We get the medicine ourselves. His eyes went wide. You want us to steal from the medical supply depot? Yes. The word hung in the air like smoke. Set down her coffee cup slowly. Hands stopped moving, leaned forward in his chair. They all stared at like she had lost her mind. That is crazy, said. That is theft. We would lose our jobs. We might go to prison. We might end up in the labor camps ourselves. I know, said. Then why are you asking us to do this? Looked at her friend. She looked at all of them. These were good people. They had left Earth to work in space, to explore the galaxy, to be part of something bigger. But the galaxy had disappointed them. The hegemony was cruel and cold. The other species looked down on humans. Sometimes it felt like they had made a mistake coming here. Do you remember why we joined? Asked quietly. Do you remember what they taught us in training? They said humans were special, not because we were stronger or smarter than other species, but because we cared, Because we helped people who could not help themselves. That was supposed to be our purpose." She paused and looked down at her hands. "I have worked on this station for 3 years. I have watched the hegemony hurt people. I have watched refugees die because no one would help them. I have followed the rules. I have stayed quiet. I have done my job, and I am tired. I am tired of pretending that this is okay." The medic spoke next. She was a small woman with gentle eyes and quick hands. She had joined the crew to help people. That was all she ever wanted to do. "What kind of medicine does the woman need?" asked. "I do not know exactly," admitted. "She has a high fever. She is barely conscious. She has not eaten in days. Her pulse is very weak." Nodded slowly. "That sounds like fever. It is common among refugees. Their immune systems are weak from malnutrition and stress. Without treatment, the mortality rate is very high, but with the right medicine, she could recover in a few days." "Do you know what medicine she needs?" "Yes, it is called. It is stored in the medical supply depot. The depot has it because the station is supposed to treat any species in an emergency, but they never actually use it for." Slammed his fist on the table. He was the youngest of the group, only 22 years old. He had a hot temper and a good heart. "That is disgusting," said. "They have the medicine, they just will not use it. What is wrong with these people?" "They do not see as people," said quietly. She was the engineer, a woman of 40 with gray in her hair and wisdom in her eyes. "They see them as problems, as costs, as inefficiencies to be removed." "Then we remove the inefficiency ourselves," said. "We take the medicine, we save the woman, we show the galaxy that humans are different." Was still shaking his head. "I want to help, I really do, but think about what you are asking. If we get caught, we lose everything. Our careers, our freedom, maybe our lives." Looked at him steadily. "There is a child down there, a 10-year-old girl watching her mother die. She has no one, she has nothing. The entire galaxy has abandoned her, and you want me to abandon her too." Opened his mouth to respond, but no words came out. He looked away. Spoke next. "How would we even do this? The medical supply depot has security systems, cameras, alarms, locked doors. We cannot just walk in and take what we want." "No," agreed, "but we have skills. You are the best engineer on this station. You can disable any security system. You know the patrol schedules. You know when the depot is empty. You can monitor the communication channels. You can warn us if anyone is coming. And you know exactly what we need and where to find it." She looked at each of them in turn. "I am not asking you to be heroes. I am asking you to be human. We help each other. That is what we do. That is what we have always done. If we stop doing that, then we are no better than the hegemony." Silence fell over the table. The mess hall hummed with distant machinery. Somewhere, a pipe hissed. The artificial lights buzzed overhead. It felt like the entire station was waiting for an answer. Stood up first. "I became a medic to save lives. I cannot save a life by sitting here. I am in." Nodded slowly. "I did not come to space to watch people die. I am in." Grinned despite the danger. "This is the most exciting thing to happen since I arrived. I am definitely in." They all looked at. He was the senior officer. If he said no, the mission was over. His career was the most at risk. He had the most to lose. Closed his eyes. He thought about his family back on Earth. He thought about his future. He thought about all the reasons to say no. Then he thought about a small lavender girl with 4 arms and big dark eyes. A girl who had stolen food not for herself, but for her dying mother. A girl who had looked at a human stranger and asked for help. "I am going to regret this," said. Then he opened his eyes and smiled. "I am in." Felt tears in her eyes, but she did not let them fall. "Thank you, all of you, thank you." "Save your thanks for later," said, standing up. "We have work to do. Start working on the security systems. Get me the patrol schedules. Make a list of everything we need. We do this tonight." The 5 humans stood around the table. They were not soldiers or heroes. They were just people, ordinary people who had decided to do something extraordinary. In 1 hour, they would commit a crime. In 1 hour, they would risk everything. In 1 hour, they would become the kind of humans that Earth could be proud of. But that was in 1 hour. For now, they had planning to do. The operation took 12 minutes. It was the longest 12 minutes of life. Had disabled the security cameras at exactly 200 hours. Had confirmed that no patrols would pass the medical depot for another 30 minutes. Had unlocked the main door using his security codes. And had walked through the dark storage rooms with a small flashlight, finding exactly what she needed. They had taken nutrient supplements. They had taken bandages and fever medication and everything else said they might need. Then they had closed the doors, reactivated the cameras, and disappeared into the maintenance tunnels. No alarms, no witnesses, no evidence. Now, 3 days later, stood in the small cargo hold and watched a miracle happen. Opened her eyes. Not the cloudy, unfocused eyes of before. Real eyes, clear eyes, eyes that could see and understand and feel. She looked up at the ceiling of the cargo hold, then turned her head slowly to look at her daughter. Lyra whispered, her voice was weak but real. Lyra, my child. Lyra burst into tears. She threw herself onto her mother and hugged her with all 4 arms. She cried and laughed at the same time. She said words that could not understand, words in the language, words full of love and relief and joy. Watched from the corner of the room, she felt something warm spread through her chest. This was why she had done it. This moment, this reunion, this proof that kindness could still exist in a cruel galaxy. Looked over Lyra's shoulder and saw standing there. The woman smiled weakly. You saved me, said. My daughter told me everything, you and your friends, you risked everything for strangers. Why? Walked closer and kneeled beside the mattress. Because it was the right thing to do, and because your daughter is very brave. She did not steal that food for herself. She stole it for you. That kind of love deserves to be protected. His eyes filled with tears. On our home world we had a saying, the universe is cold but hearts can be warm. I thought that saying was just a dream. I thought warmth had died with our planet, but you humans, you proved me wrong. Rest now, said gently. You are still weak. We'll come later to check on you. You need to eat and sleep and recover. But grabs hand with 2 of her arms. Her grip was weak, but her eyes were intense. You must be careful, said. The hegemony does not forgive kindness. They will find out what you did. They will punish you. Let me worry about that, said. Over the next few days, something amazing happened. Word spread through the human community on the station. Families heard about the refugees hiding in the abandoned cargo hold. They heard about the sick mother and the brave daughter. They heard about and her crew. And they came to help. Engineer Minu brought portable heaters to make the cargo hold warmer. Teacher offered to educate Lyra and any other children. Doctor, who worked in a private clinic, volunteered to provide medical care for free. Families brought food and clean water and blankets and clothes. The cargo hold transformed. It was no longer a dark hiding place. It became a small community, a home. And then more came. They emerged from the shadows of the station like ghosts, 17 of them in total. They had been hiding in different parts of the station for months. Some were sick. Some were injured. All of them were afraid. But they had heard about the humans who helped. They had heard about the safe place in cargo hold 7B. Welcomed them all. Her crew welcomed them all. The human community welcomed them all. But not everyone was happy. Station commander called to his office on the 7th day. Was the same species as the merchant who had tried to arrest Lyra. He was the highest authority on Omega 12. He answered only to the hegemony itself. Walked into his office and stood at attention. The office was large and cold. The walls were decorated with hegemony flags and awards for efficiency. Sat behind a massive desk made of black metal. His 6 eyes stared at with barely contained anger. "Do you know why I called you here?" asked. His voice was like stones grinding together. "I have some ideas," said calmly. "You have disrupted this station. You have wasted resources on non-contributing residents. You have harbored illegal refugees. And I have reports that someone stole medical supplies from the depot. Someone with security access codes." Said nothing. She kept her face still. She did not confirm or deny anything. Stood up from his chair. He was enormous, almost 3 meters tall. He walked around the desk and stood directly in front of. He towered over her like a mountain. "I should arrest you right now," said. "I should throw you in the detention center and send you to the labor camps with the other trash. That is what the regulations say I should do." Looked up at him without fear. "Then do it." 6 eyes blinked in surprise. "What?" "Arrest me, send me to the camps, do whatever you want, but you should know something first." "And what is that?" Smiled slightly. "There are 247 humans on this station. We run your life support systems. We maintain your power grid. We operate your communications network. We fix your machines when they break. We do the jobs that no one else wants to do." She paused to let the words sink in. "If you arrest me, every single human on this station will stop working. They will not protest. They will not fight. They will simply refuse to do their jobs. How long do you think this station can survive without us? A day? 2 days?" Scales rippled with anger. "You are threatening me." "I am telling you the truth. Humans are not like other species. We do not abandon our own. We do not abandon people we care about. And we have decided that those refugees are people we care about." The room was silent and stared at each other. The tension was so thick that could feel it pressing against her skin. Finally spoke. His voice was cold and hard. "Get those creatures off my station, all of them, within 1 rotation. If they are still here after that, I will arrest everyone involved. I do not care about the consequences." Nodded slowly. "1 rotation, we will be gone." She turned and walked toward the door. Her heart was beating fast, but she did not let it show. She had bought them time, not much but enough. At the door, she stopped and looked back at. "You know," she said, "on Earth we have a saying. The true measure of a society is how it treats its weakest members. By that measure, Commander, your hegemony is a failure." She walked out before could respond. 1 rotation. That was 32 hours. She had 32 hours to find a way to save 17 refugees. It seemed impossible, but had learned something important over the past week. When humans worked together, they could do impossible things. She walked faster. There was planning to do. There was hope to build. There was a future to create. And she would not fail, not now, not when they had come so far. The Starling was not a beautiful ship. She was old and worn and covered in patches where repairs had been made over the years. Her paint was faded. Her engines made strange sounds. Her interior smelled like machine oil and old metal, but she could fly. And right now, that was all that mattered. Had spent 2 sleepless nights making the ship ready. She had fixed the life support systems. She had repaired the navigation computer. She had tested every system twice and then tested them again. When she finally stepped back and looked at her work, she allowed herself a small smile of pride. "She will make it," said Tu. "It will not be comfortable, but she will make it." The destination was new. It was a human colony world 3 weeks away by standard travel. The colony had a policy of accepting refugees from any species. They would they would give them a home. Now, in the docking bay of Omega 12, 17 refugees stood waiting. They carried small bags with their few possessions. They wore clothes that the human families had given them. They looked at the ship with eyes full of hope and fear. Lyra held her mother's hand. was still weak, but she could walk now. She could stand. She could smile. The medicine had saved her life, but it was love that had saved her spirit. Stood near the ship's entrance, watching the refugees say goodbye to the humans who had helped them. There were hugs and tears and promises to remember each other. It was beautiful and sad at the same time. Walked up beside, he looked tired but proud. "You know," he said, "a week ago I thought you were crazy. I thought this would destroy us all." "And now?" asked. Smiled, "Now I think you were right. This was the most important thing I have ever done. Whatever happens next, I will never regret it." Nodded. She felt the same way. For the first time in years, she felt like she was truly doing something meaningful, truly being human. Approached slowly. The woman's steps were careful, but her eyes were bright. "I do not have words to thank you," said. "In my language, there is no word for what you have done. We have words for trade and exchange and obligation. But what you did was different. You gave without expecting anything back. You helped without asking for payment. I do not know how to thank someone for that." Took's hand gently. "You do not need to thank me. Just live, be happy, take care of your daughter, that is enough." His eyes filled with tears. "When we first came to this station, I thought we would die here. I thought the galaxy had no place for us, but you showed me something different. You showed me that kindness still exists, that good people still exist. I will never forget that. My people will never forget that." She leaned forward and touched her forehead to his. It was a gesture of deep respect and gratitude. "May your path be warm," whispered, "and may you find the same kindness you have shown us." Then she turned and walked toward the ship, holding Lyra's hand. But Lyra stopped. She pulled free from her mother and ran back too. The small alien girl wrapped all four of her arms around the human woman and hugged her as tightly as she could. "Thank you," Lyra said. Her voice was muffled against uniform. "Thank you for believing I mattered. Thank you for believing my mother mattered. Thank you for everything." Kneeled down so she was at Lyra's level. She looked into the child's big dark eyes. "Lyra, listen to me. You are brave, you are strong, you are smart. Do not let anyone tell you that you do not matter. You matter. Every life matters. And someday when you are older, you will help someone else the way I helped you. That is how kindness works. It spreads from person to person like ripples in water." Lyra nodded seriously. "I will remember, I promise. I will help someone else someday." "I know you will." Lyra hugged one more time. Then she ran back to her mother, and together they walked onto the ship. The other followed. One by one they boarded the Starling. They looked back at the humans gathered in the docking bay. They waved, they smiled, they cried. Then the ship's door closed. The engines hummed to life. The old vessel shook and groaned, but she rose from the docking bay floor smoothly. She floated toward the station's exit doors. The doors opened, revealing the vast darkness of space beyond. Watched through the observation window as the Starling flew out into the stars. The ship grew smaller and smaller until it was just a tiny light among millions of other lights. And then it was gone. Somewhere behind her, Commander was probably angry. Somewhere, the hegemony was probably making records and taking names. Somewhere, there would be consequences for what they had done. But right now, in this moment, none of that mattered. 17 lives had been saved. A mother would see her daughter grow up. A child would have a future. A people who had lost everything would have a chance to start again. That was worth any price. Stood beside at the window. The other humans gathered around them. And dozens of others who had helped in their own ways. They all watched the stars together. "What do you think will happen to them?" asked. "They will survive," said. "They will build new lives. They will remember what happened here, and they will pass the story on to their children and—" "Will they remember us?" asked. Smiled. "They will remember that when everyone else abandoned them, humans helped. They will remember that kindness exists in the universe. That is the most important thing." The group stood in silence for a while. The stars glittered in the darkness. The station hummed around them. Life continued. Finally spoke, "So what do we do now?" Thought about the question. She thought about the hegemony and their cruel rules. She thought about all the other refugees on all the other stations. She thought about how big the galaxy was and how much suffering it contained. "Now," she said slowly, "we do it again." "Again?" asked. "There are more out there, more refugees from other species, more people who have been forgotten and abandoned. We helped 17 people this week. Next week maybe we can help more. Maybe we can build a network. Maybe we can change things." It was a crazy idea. It was dangerous. It might get them all killed. But every great change starts with a crazy idea. Grinned, "I am in." "Me too," said. "Count me in," added. Laughed and shook his head. "You are going to get us all killed, but yes, I am in." Looked at her friends, her family, her crew. She felt a warmth in her heart that she had not felt in years. Hope, real hope, the kind of hope that could change the universe. Somewhere far away, a small ship carried 17 toward a new home. On that ship, a little girl with 4 arms was looking out a window at the stars. She was thinking about a human woman who had shown her kindness. She was thinking about the future. Years from now, Lyra would grow up. She would become a voice for her people. She would stand before the Galactic Council and speak about refugee rights. She would change laws and minds and hearts. And when people asked her how she became who she was, she would tell them a story. A story about a day when she was hungry and scared and alone. A story about a theft that was not really a theft. A story about a human who paid 50 credits for food that was worth 10. A story about kindness in a cold universe. The hegemony called it inefficient. They called it wasteful. They called it foolish. Humans called it love. And love, Lyra would say, is the most powerful force in the galaxy. It does not conquer with weapons. It does not rule with fear. It simply exists. It spreads. It grows. And it changes everything. This is what humans do. This is who humans are. This is why, in a galaxy full of powerful empires and advanced species, the small creatures from the small planet called Earth made such a big difference. Not because they were the strongest, not because they were but because they cared. Because they helped. Because they loved. And the universe was better for it.